So I'm already logged in. I'll go backward and explain, those processes in a little bit. So I did the senior awards night this year in WeVideo. And what that would look like. So I had this as a video clip, this intro piece. If I scrub through, there's more. Some of this I did live, so you have to take that into account. But, Joey Tepper was not physically in the space when we were doing this video. So I had to take his recording and bring it into WeVideo to be able to cut and insert the piece where he's doing the national anthem. If we scroll through and look at
for her opening
Miss Connor,
remarks.
when she comes up on the screen, I have text that shows her name. It's just a little bit of, sort of like addressing, like additional
Welcome to our annual senior
rather
awards
than just
ceremony
having her
for the
appear on the
class
screen
of
without addressing who she
2020.
is.
This evening,
Going through, having slides would be something that if I needed to add these slides later, if I didn't have them at that time, I would be able to drop in picture slides to have all these names come up on the screen.
Congratulating this
Coming to the end, the credits. Credits are not something that you can do inside of
This concludes our
Screencast-O-Matic natively.
Once
It would take a
again,
lot of creative
congratulations,
thought to do that, but in
class of
here it's very
2020.
easy. So be able to have these names pop up, be able to have them on the screen and then have the next names come on the screen. Those are the kind of things that WeVideo or any nonlinear editing program can do compared to just doing it with, Google Slideshow, I guess is really what it is. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back. Keep in mind, I already have an active account. Did I hear somebody say something?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Leanna. I just wanted to ask you really quick. Is there stuff that WeVideo can do that iMovie can't? Like I've iMovie on my iMac.
Mm-hmm.
So would I need WeVideo to do something else?
I think when I show you what some of the tools are, they're going to see, it's kind of like an alternative. There might be some more advanced things in here, but generally, I think if you have iMovie and you're comfortable with it, they're kind of on the same page.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So in here with WeVideo, I have the educator account. So I have, like I said, the more advanced tools that you may get with the individual one. Some recent things they added in here is you can record directly inside WeVideo. So if you wanted to not be using 6 different tools to be able to film something and then bring it in to edit, you can do that inside of here. You also can do podcasts and make a GIF if you just wanted yourself on a loop. I don't know why you would do that, but you could do that in here. And I found that WeVideo is a little difficult to navigate sometimes. But just know that pretty much what I explained to you yesterday about that when you use iMovie on your phone, for example, or if you're using it on a computer, there's like a project version of your file when you're still making changes to it. And that's not really the one that you technically share to, your students. You have to take it from that, mess. It makes sense to you, but not to anybody else. Your computer won't be able to share that breakdown until you put it into a nice sandwich and export it. So a project is where you're actually doing the assembly part. The export is when your video is done, where your video goes in WeVideo. That's where you would be able to download it from there and then be able to post it up on YouTube. So projects, these are things that I have in here that I've worked on. Media is like I like to organize things by folders. So I was able to organize any of the clips that I got. Like, let me pull a more advanced example. So if any of you saw the spring art showcase that I helped produce this last spring with all the fine and performing arts, in this example, I have all of these students' individual clips that they all were playing the exact same song. In order to have them all appear on screen together, it was more work than this. I'm kind of simplifying it. I had to put all of their clips, line them all up so that they all looked and sound like they're playing the same music together. That is a very complicated project. I would not recommend starting out at that level. If you are a fine and performing arts person, maybe try like 2 or 3. For some of these projects, we had up to 60 kids. So when I talked about how many layers are involved, I had to have, no exaggeration, 60 levels a video in order for them to all appear on the screen at the same time, and have them line up and hopefully sound or look kind of like they're playing together as close as I can. So that's an example of something that would not be reasonable to do on your phone, and probably, frankly, would be too big of a project maybe in iMovie or in Windows Movie Maker because of the number of levels that would be involved with that. Not impossible, but probably not worth the headache. So going back to projects, I'm going to make myself a new project. I'm going to call it Sample Video Package. And you can see that if you have a paid educator account, you have more options here than you would have with a personal. So personal pretty much means that only you are going to be able to edit it. If you were working with it on a group of people, like the students could all work together on the same video project, you could do it that way. I don't get into the shared area, so I pretty much stick between these two. And I'll hit next. I'm going to skip this part for right now, and I'll have to hit create video. Now you'll see there are some pre-made templates that you could start out with. Like they have an award ceremony one. If you wanted, I use this example for anyone who attended the WeVideo video that I did back in the spring, where maybe you want to do a read aloud and show like pictures from a book while you're reading. That would be an example of one of those. So there, and it's educator driven. So, you know, a lot of these examples are somehow academic. I'm going to start with blank edit though, because I'm going to just start completely from scratch and not begin with a template. I'll hit start editing. And then you should be able to recognize the 3 video layers that I had as that example. I already, like I said, I already have content in here. I made things into folders for my own example, but I did make a teach like a YouTuber folder, and I did bring in some of the content that some of you sent me. Now, if I wanted to bring in more, there is a button right here for import. So when I click on import, now here's where the benefits of WeVideo comes in. You can choose it right from your computer, anything that you have local on your computer, or you can get things from Google Drive, which is my favorite part. So if I click on Google Drive, I already saved some of your YouTube content just for quick access here, and I can select all the clips that I want to bring in. And within a few minutes, you'll see it sort of renders and processes, but then I'd be able to edit with it once they're done processing. These clips will be repetitive because I did already bring some of them in, but you'll still understand the idea. Let's say I had, and you can see that there's also, I forgot to mention this too, you can bring in pictures, you can bring in video, you can bring in music if you have your own music on your computer. I know the question's going to come up about bringing in music that I don't have access to, like if there's a song on YouTube that you really like, you can kind of pirate it. I'm not really going to encourage that, because if you don't know what you're doing, you can very easily get viruses from that. If you're somebody who wants to be able to pull videos from YouTube, pull music from YouTube, I can point you in a direction of a $30 program that you buy one time, and it'll keep your computer safe. But chances are you can ask your 12-year-old in your house, if you have one, how to pull music offline, and they'll be able to do it for you safer than you just trying to do it yourself. If you're going to make the investment, though, there's a really inexpensive program. It's called iSkysoft that I have on my computer, that if I need to pull something offline, I can pull the music from something or any video content at all. So I could, you know, in this case, I brought in some additional pictures too, because Jenny Dami talked about, she worked in New York and came from Atlantic City High School. So I just pulled in a couple things from her, because she was the first one to send me anything. So don't be offended if I didn't bring in special stuff for you. But anyway, so let's say this was the one that she recorded with her phone versus this is the one she recorded with her webcam. So I'm going to bring down the webcam one. And you can see it's just as easy as clicking and dragging to put it in the timeline. If I want to zoom in closer, I can zoom in closer. But without giving anything away, how long do you think this video is, now that I've explained to you how hours and minutes are read?
Is it 140? 1 minute.
Just about. Yep. It's 139. So if you said 140, that's probably what I would have guessed too. Depending on how advanced you want to get with your editing, and I'm going to give you more advice than you probably wanted. I like to put transitions at the beginning and the end of my video because it sort of has a more of a clean ending rather than just a hard cut of stop recording. So remember transitions, if I show you this slideshow from before, these areas that I highlighted in green, these are transitions. So remember, that's how it goes from one scene to another. In this example, right between where this video basics is and this picture of a book, there is no transition here. That is when I told you about a hard cut yesterday. They don't show picture examples of that. It just goes from one to the other. Where if you have like a crossfade, cross dissolve, fade to black, all those kind of transitions, it's going to put this little picture to let you know that there is a transition from one thing to the next thing. So going back to WeVideo, I right now only have her video up here. Let's say I want to keep just the beginning part. I can just click to drag the part I want. And
You're teaching at the high school.
I could have her start right there.
I'm really looking forward to this year.
So I can leave that there. And remember, you don't want to have big blank spaces like this, like how right now there's no video happening for the first 20 seconds. That means that it's just going to be a black screen until the video comes up. You always want to push your video so that there's very limited blank spaces in between. It's a more professional video, and the students won't, you won't get a whole bunch of Google Classroom messages like the video's not working, because that's what they'll do. If you right click on one of those scenes, you can add a transition. So I think it's always best, like I said, to start off with the transition.
I'm really looking
sort of
forward to
fades
this
in
year.
rather than just being a hard cut. And same thing when she's
Before
just about
having
done,
a good year.
I could have it transition out.
Good year. See you soon.
And it fades to black. And it gives that kind of closure at the end of your video. If I wanted to add text, so that's going to be an overlay. I'm going to have to put that in video too in order to do that. This A up here is for text. And WeVideo does have more options to do more interesting things with text than some of the free other alternatives do. You can see like there's actually some animated ones, which are kind of neat. So I could just drop that right in there. Welcome to junior year. And you can change the font and everything like you would be able to. You could change colors, all of those kinds of things. If you want to look a little more like EHT and do EHT colors, you could do something like that. And just that simple, it looks branded, right? I could add, if I go back to here. So this is where I always want to go back to in order to bring in more content into my timeline. This lets me organize other things I might want to add. This is a PNG picture. If you don't already know what file types there are for pictures, PNG generally has a transparent background. And if you don't want to get involved with using Photoshop or getting someone to translate a file for you, not every time, but most of the time, PNG files have transparent backgrounds. So they're able to still show a little bit of that background, not have like a white box like you might see some other times. I can also scale it down just by double clicking and going into scale. I can move it out of the way just like that. And you'll see now at that point in the video, I can add a transition for it to come in and to go out.
This is a good spot. So I'm looking forward to a good year. A little bit about myself. I grew up in Atlantic City.
And dissolves away. I can bring in some other videos. Like let's say I want to have Kathy's video right up until about here. And I know she ends right about here. I could drag that in. And you can see because of how little of a clip I have, that clip is not on the screen nearly as long as what I have for the first clip. And then we can have Christine's here, which I have to say, Christine, I want to tell you, I loved your opening, by the way. So I'm going to keep that. We're going to put this right here. Maybe use that at the beginning. And I can highlight all this text. I can drag it down to get it out of the way. So maybe I can use hers at the very beginning. Oops. This one. Could add that transition. Add another right there. And select them all to move them back and butt it up against each other. And now it's going to go from here.
I'm really looking forward to this.
And with putting a little more time and effort to cleaning it up, you can see how a video goes from just being one person on a webcam to having different elements come in, you know, bringing in different pictures if you wanted to at different points. And that's really what makes a video more engaging to watch. And as many of you found out, it takes a long time to do videos like this. It's not something that you can, you know, throw together in 2 minutes before you do a presentation. It does take a lot of time. And in fact, the unofficial rule is that for every minute that you watch, it takes about an hour to edit if you're doing a video like this. So you can do the math. If I really took time to do this video all the way, it very likely could take me about an hour to do a 1 minute video. I do this every day, so I'm a little faster than that, unless it's something that, you know, involves green screen and multiple clips and then the processing time, because that all takes time, being able to find all those pictures you want to bring in, to bring in the audio, to then ultimately have a really cool 1 minute video. But that's the kind of stuff that your students are going to remember and probably be more interested in and actually retain more information because you put that time in. You know, so that's kind of what I wanted you to know about using these kind of programs. And really, like I said, for using WeVideo, it was more about understanding the terminology and that sort of thing. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this video so you can see what the export process looks like, and then we can go into uploading it to YouTube. While that's happening, though, if anyone has any questions, feel free to shout them out.
Leanna, this is Chris Stafford. I was one of the ones who wasn't able to make it yesterday and watched you on 1.25 speed, which it actually is believable. I could see you talking that fast. Anyway, I'm actually an Android user and Windows computer. So going back to the whole iMovie versus WeVideo, is Windows Movie Maker 10 comparable, or would I really need to look into something like WeVideo?
I would put Windows Movie Maker 10 at the same level as iMovie. I have not used Windows Movie Maker 10. I've used previous versions of Windows Movie Maker. So I can't give you my experience on the program the way that it is right this second. But in previous versions, it worked fine most of the time for what I needed. Again, it sort of depends on if you don't already have something, then WeVideo is a good option. It does have more advanced tools than iMovie and Windows Movie Maker because it does involve green screen. It does involve the fact that you can pull video from Chrome, from Google Drive. So it has some nice features. But if you're really just starting, iMovie, Windows Movie Maker are perfectly fine.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So if you're doing it with iMovie, Windows Movie Maker, you already know that you'll have to do an export. Like it's usually you have to share it to something. Their terminology, again, may be a little different, but the whole point of exporting is exactly the same, that you're taking all the work that you did, all the little pieces that you cut together and sort of melding them into one final video. In WeVideo, you have a couple of options depending on if you have a free account or a paid account. I would say that just like I told you yesterday, if you're choosing which level of high definition to go with, 720 is usually perfectly fine. It offers clear video. It's not such a large file size that it ends up being a problem for your students to watch. And you can see with WeVideo, and this being a paid education account, it's not a professional, you know, paying $50 a month account, in which case you probably would get 4K as an option. But 720 is perfectly fine. So there's no reason to go any higher than that. I would have to make sure that I have it on export video, because if I only have it on audio, then only your music, your background part is the part that'll come through. You want it that it does video. In this case, it's video and audio. They just kept it a concise word. I would have to choose high definition video. If you don't choose this video will still play. It's just not going to be as clear. And then you will see there's options for you to download it or have it post directly. You could have it post directly to YouTube from here. Both this YouTube one and this Google Drive one, they do work. I just think that they take longer than just doing it myself. And I found that they occasionally fail. So I would not rely on posting it directly to YouTube or Google Drive from here. I found I've had better success exporting it, downloading it, and posting it to the places I want than having it trying to do it for me. You're welcome to try it on your own. It was just from my own experience. So I'm going to leave it on what it's already set to, and I'm going to hit export. And WeVideo, more than your local Windows Movie Maker or iMovie, are directly based on what their load is on their website. So you can imagine a Friday at 2 o'clock when, I guess for some reason, a lot of people are trying to export video at the same time. I guess it's just a bunch of kids trying to finish their videos to have them submitted by midnight. I don't know. That process for it to be exported takes longer during certain times of the day or the week than it does others. I would say, depending on how much editing is involved, like when I do the super intense reports that you might see for Dr. Gruccio at some of the board meetings, they have a lot of video content in them. The video might only be 2 minutes long, but all the video that I had to bring in order to cut it up to show it, it's a large working project. So that video will take like 20 minutes or more to export sometimes. Something small like this, you can see I'll probably have done in less than 2 minutes because I only have 3 video clips in there and they were all relatively small files to begin with. You don't have to sit here and babysit this though. If you got to this point that it's already ready to export and it's doing its thing, it will send you an email to let you know that that video is available and you're able to view it and download it from there. So because it's only got 50 seconds left, I'm going to just stay on the screen. It's not worth navigating out, but just keep that in mind that if it is taking a while, you may want to just close out of it and check back later for that email to let you know it's available. Because once that's done, I'm going to show you how to download it so that if you're using Windows Movie Maker, if you're using iMovie, you're all going to be in the same place once this part is exported to be able to upload it to YouTube, being the last step that you may want.